let's chat a little bit about materials before we dive into making our project. So, number one, you are going to need some white paper. I have it underneath here in this stack. I like to use thick white paper because when I put paint on it, it doesn't all warp and get really fragile. So thick white paper like drawing paper or watercolor paper is awesome for this project. But if all you have is computer paper, that will also work. You need cardboard, so maybe just like the edge of a box. I just got this from a box, is just a scrap piece, and that is to make your stamp, which we'll talk about in a moment. You need a pair of scissors. You need black paint inside a tray, a cup, which could be a paper plate or just a wide cup. It just has to be wide enough for your cardboard to fit in it. You need oil pastels, and if you don't have oil pastels, you can also use crayons, so that's your choice. And then you will have this on your computer screen, but I have just a printed picture of Mondrian's pictures. And you want to keep this next to you so that when you're printing, you can look back to it to see for inspiration. Okay, here are two different notes about the materials. So if you're listening to this right now and you're like, Miss Wright, I don't have black paint and I don't have oil pastels and I don't have thick white paper. Well, you can do one of two things. I have, the first thing is I have included 3 different links to some Amazon supplies like the paper, the paint, and the oil pastels. And that's for if you want to order the paint and purchase it for this project or like future projects. So I've included those links in the Nearpod. So if you feel like you want to buy those supplies because they're pretty common and we might use them later, you can purchase those for this project. If you don't want to buy them and you don't have black paint, I have an alternative option, something else you could do instead of printing with paint. And all that is making a collage. If you guys remember our dot collages from a couple weeks ago, we traced circles, we cut them out, and we glued them to another piece of paper. That was making a collage. And you can turn this week's art project into a collage if you want as well. So you would just need some black construction paper, some scissors, and you would just cut strips, kind of skinny strips, maybe about a ½ inch, maybe long ones, shorter ones. And these could become your vertical and horizontal lines on your white paper. So you could kind of arrange them like this or like this and glue them down onto white paper, and that's only if you do not have black paint. So you can use that option. But today we're going to talk a lot about how to print with paint. So I highly recommend, if you can, try to get your hands on some paint because it is so much fun. Okay guys, now that we've talked about materials, let's dive into part 1. And part 1 is cutting our cardboard piece for printing. So I have my piece of cardboard and I have a pair of scissors. And this is part 1 of part 3. My other 2 steps, part 2 is actually making our print, part 3 is coloring our print. So we're at the very beginning where we want to make something to make all of our vertical and horizontal lines. We are not going to use a paintbrush. We're going to use cardboard to make the lines. Okay, if you're listening to this right now, I want you to tell your mom, your dad, or just an adult near you for help. Cardboard can be really thick, and when you're cutting it, it can be dangerous if your hands are too little. So right now, for this step, ask your mom or your dad or someone near you to cut the cardboard for you. Don't try to do it on your own because I want you to be safe and it's not worth it doing it on your own and being unsafe. Okay, so this is for mom and dad. You're going to cut your cardboard, and I'm just using my scissors right here. I'm cutting it this way, and then I'm cutting it this way to make, let's see if you guys know the name of this shape. Let's see. You guys know the name of this shape? This is a rectangle, and I'm going to use this rectangle piece of cardboard to make all of my lines by printing my paint. Okay, so that is the end of part 1. I've made my stamp, and then in part 2 we're going to talk about how to use this with the paint.